welcome to Bible Lessons A to Z. I'm glad that you're watching and I'm excited about today's lesson. In our last lesson, our letter of the day was the letter C, and I asked some questions to see how well you were listening. Today I'm going to give you the answers, and congratulations to Violet, Ellie, and Boaz. They won this week again. They got all of the answers right and they sent me a message with the correct answers. But I'm going to go ahead and read them to you today. So the first one was, what do you call a young donkey? And the answer was a colt. The second question was, what did Judas receive for betraying Jesus? And the answer is 30 silver coins. Question 3, when the angry mob came for Jesus, what weapons did they carry? Swords and the answer was clubs. Question number 4, what did the angry people want Pilate to do to Jesus? And the answer was crucify him. Question 5, who or what were the two men crucified beside Jesus? They were criminals. Question number 6, what was the hill called where Jesus was crucified? And the answer is Calvary. And question number 7, what did Jesus want his disciples to teach others? And the answer is his command. So once again, congratulations, Violet, Ellie, and Boaz. You guys are great listeners, and we're still working on our memory verse. So if you want to practice along with us at the end of this video and send me a video of you saying the verse, whoever sends me the first video quoting the verse correctly will win a prize this week. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Susie. She's going to be reading our lesson today, so enjoy.
Well, hello friends. We finally get to finish our lesson about Joseph today. When we left off, Joseph's brothers had come back to Egypt for a second time to get food for their families in Canaan because of how massive the famine had been. This time, they had brought their youngest brother Benjamin along with them because Joseph had requested for him to come. When his brothers went to leave, Joseph had done something sneaky. He had put his silver cup into Benjamin's sack. Joseph did this to test his brothers. He wanted to see if they had changed. When they left, a servant went after them. He ordered them to stop. He told them about the missing cup and accused them of taking them. Of course, they found the cup in Benjamin's sack. The servant made all of them go back to Egypt. When they got there, Joseph asked them, "Why did you do this? Did you think I wouldn't notice my cup missing?" I've lost my place. I do this every Wednesday. His brothers had nothing to prove their innocence and realized that they would all become Joseph's slaves. But Joseph said that only the one who had the cup would have to stay, and the rest of them could return home. Judah, one of the brothers, began to plead with Joseph. He told them that they had lost a brother a long time ago, and that if they didn't return home with Benjamin, their father would probably die. Judah begged Joseph to allow him to stay instead. His brother had really changed. They wanted to protect Benjamin and to not bring him harm like they had done to Joseph. He knew that it was time to tell them who he was. And so he said to them, "I am Joseph, the brother that you sold into slavery. But God had a destiny for me, and he has worked everything out here, and so many lives have been saved during this famine." He told them to return home and to bring their families back with them to Egypt so they could all be together again.
I love the story of Joseph. I love how he was kind to his brothers even after they were unkind to him. And you probably noticed that the main character in our story today, Joseph, his name begins with J, but in the alphabet, we talked about A was for Aaron, B was for what God wants us to be, C was for the cross. So we're ready for letter D. So if you were listening really well, you might have heard a word in the story that Miss Susie read that begins with D. That's what our lesson title is going to be this week. D is for destiny, and I have it up on the board. Here's our poem of the week. It says, D is for destiny. God's plans for us are good. When Joseph's brothers couldn't feed their family, Joseph could. So God worked everything out for their good because Joseph was obedient and trusted God. Now, our memory verse, Romans chapter 5, verse 8 is on the board over here, and Miss Susie is going to help me. We're going to erase one word at a time and work on learning this verse. And go ahead and work on it with us at home, and as soon as you can say it, send me a video for your chance to win a prize. Are you ready, Miss Susie? Okay. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. All right, the book is gone. It's in Romans. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. Romans is easier to remember than Ecclesiastes from our last memory verse. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8.
You think you can handle 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. It is almost gone. Can you say it along with us? God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. It's almost gone.
Okay.
God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. One word left on the board. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. And all of the words are gone, but I've got this one memorized. Do you think you have it memorized too, Miss Susie?
Maybe if you help me.
Let's see if we can say it together. God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. I can't wait to see your videos as you're practicing this verse, and I hope to see you again soon.